start with the big news in football right now. So we've got big trade. Zoom in here a little bit. We got the Bears trading the number 1 pick to Carolina for the number 9, number 61, a first rounder next year, a second rounder in 2 years, and then DJ Moore. So from a card perspective, I think I don't know. I'm very torn on quarterbacks because it's really the only position that has a lot of volume in terms of buying and selling for football. But at the same time, it's also like if you're trying to buy into these players long term, you have a significantly higher chance of busting on an investment than you would if you're switching to another sport. I mean, quarterbacks, they're always hyped up as like the next big thing, no matter what. Like, it's rare that you see a quarterback come into the league and people don't like the quarterback. It's rare that it's rare that you're gonna find a quarterback that people don't like, I guess is one way to put it. I think from my perspective, I don't necessarily know, especially buying rookie quarterbacks in their rookie year. That's got to be one of the most risky investments you can make. If you're flipping the cards, fine, that's good. But if you're buying them for the long term, like that's something I would almost avoid at all costs because like I don't know what I wonder if anybody has ever put out like a bust rate percentage like of quarterbacks, but it has to be fairly high. I mean, especially first rounders. Like, I mean, you look at like coming into this year, Trey Lance was like the guy, and then he has one injury, and then Jimmy Garoppolo has an injury, and then you have Brock Purdy, and Brock Purdy doesn't really have that many cards out, but his mosaic card is still selling fairly well. But like, you know, I don't know who's buying those cards. Like, that's kind of the other thing that I'm thinking about. It's like, who's out here buying Brock Purdy cards? Who's out here buying Brock Purdy cards? Like, that doesn't make any sense to me. Like, there's no way that the 49ers have a Trey Lance and they start Brock Purdy over Trey Lance. And if they do that, then there's no way that they don't trade Trey Lance. But also from if you're the 49ers and you have 2 quarterbacks that are good, like why would you, unless you're getting like the first pick, like unless you're getting a high first round pick, there's no point in trading a Trey Lance to a team that's like, because then you have a backup. Because it's like, I don't know. Also, the other thing too is like, I don't know how often quarterback injuries are happening, but like we obviously saw the 49ers had terrible luck this year when it came to their injuries at quarterback. Like, and it's very, I don't know if it's boom or bust. And I don't know if it's like you should be, because also the other thing is like you look at the top tier quarterbacks, a lot of them were drafted pretty early in the first round. Like, obviously Brady is the exception. Aaron Rodgers, first rounder. Russell Wilson, I believe, was a second or third rounder. Trevor Lawrence, first rounder. Justin Herbert, first rounder. Tua, first rounder. And then Justin Fields here. I think this is a vote of confidence for Justin Fields, as well as the fact that they're getting like a very established good player a good weapon for Justin Fields to play with. Because like they did trade for like Chase Claypool. Unfortunately, they got rid of Allen Robinson over the past couple of years, so he would have been a pretty decent option there. But like, and maybe this is me having PTSD, to be honest, because like the Patriots is my team, and they haven't drafted a good wide receiver like ever. Maybe like Julian Edelman they drafted, but like he wasn't supposed to be what he turned into. We drafted and these names are probably people never heard of. People have heard of N'Keal Harry, but like he was supposed to be like the next guy for the Patriots, and he stunk, and then they got rid of him. He was injured the whole time. There's Malcolm Mitchell. There is Chad Jackson was a wide receiver that they drafted that turned out to stink. Like, there's just been a bunch of wide receivers that the Patriots have drafted that turned out to be busts. And like I said, maybe this is me having PTSD from that, but like I would rather instead of trading or instead of drafting a player, and in this case, they weren't necessarily drafting a wide receiver probably at 1, but like rather than using, maybe even this number 9 pick, for example, like why not trade this number 9 pick for another good player? Like, in my opinion, like I just think that if you, and I'm not a GM or whatever, but uh, in my opinion, I think that you should be trading draft picks for actual assets, because best case scenario is that draft pick that the person that you're drafting turns into as good as that asset is. Like, let's just say the Bears, I don't know. I guess in this scenario, it's a little bit different because they also got DJ Moore, who I think is extremely like underrated when it comes to. I know he was like a fantasy guy that everybody was really high on. That he didn't really pan out as well as maybe he could have. But like, I just think that like you should be trading these high picks for players that are, in scenarios like the pick is going to turn into as good of the player as the pick is. So it's like I would be trading picks, or even trying to trade picks and maybe not get like a superstar, but like trade for other picks. And I think it was Barstool Big Cat. He had the GM of the Bears on, and he was like joking with them about trading all of these picks for just more picks. But it's like the Patriots have also done this in the past too. They love trading down, which like I think they have I don't know what it is about them. Like they have a good eye for certain positions and a really bad eye for other positions. But either way, I think, the other big news that came out of the NFL was that Tua, they signed his 5th-year option, which is wild that we've already get to the point where the 2019 quarterbacks are signing 5th-year options. Joe Burrow, Justin Herbert, Jalen Hurts, another guy just played in the Super Bowl. All those 2019 quarterbacks are signing their 5th-year options, or they're going to be signing, massive extensions, and we'll see what happens there. But it's like it's just crazy how quickly time passes, that these players are already signing these. They're already signing these contracts. But the Tua thing, like, I am worried about Tua just from an injury perspective. Like the injuries he had last year are like potentially. Like I don't know how you have such a devastating concussion, and then you go out and get another concussion the same like 2 weeks later. It's like I don't know how that doesn't affect you long term or short term. Like, sure, maybe he's recovered, but it's like, I mean, I don't think I've had a concussion ever, but it's like, I can't imagine playing a contact sport like football and getting a concussion and like laying on the field with your hands all messed up or whatever. So I don't know. I mean, I think, like I said, with quarterbacks, when it comes to cards, I think there is a interesting perspective. Like when it comes to you're buying potential, but sometimes the price of that potential is already baked into the price that it's already like upsale. Like you're already paying for the player to turn out in the end of their career to be like Aaron Rodgers or, even Russell Wilson. Like you're paying already for that player to be a superstar. So I think that's where quarterbacks can be a little bit dangerous, and you got to sort of potentially watch out if you're buying any quarterback cards. Like it may be worth, like, if you really like a guy and it's a 5th or 6th round guy, they're on a team that like could potentially make a quarterback change over the next year or so. That might be a guy that I would be more willing to buy than like a Justin Fields or Mac Jones, for example. Like these quarterbacks who the price of their cards are already inflated because that's just what it is within sports cards. And I've had this take for a while when it comes to position player cards specifically. Like I've always thought it was strange that those position players never got the love that I thought that maybe they deserve. And I don't know what it is. Like, I don't know why, like, I think we are seeing a little bit of a shift, but I think it's like a shift that's going to come from new players rather than old players. Cause like you could go out and buy like Emmett Smith, for example, or a Barry Sanders, or even like a Lawrence Taylor, like players who are considered the best players at their positions. I mean, I guess I don't necessarily know if Emmett Smith is considered that, but like Barry Sanders, Lawrence Taylor, they're both players that are considered the best player at that position of all time. You could go out and buy those cards for like you could buy like multiple of them for the same price as if you're looking at like a Joe Montana. I mean, even you could compare Jerry Rice, Joe Montana. Like Jerry Rice may be a little bit different, but like still, like you could buy multiple cards of um of legends of position players compared to a quarterback. And you could even like mid-level quarterbacks, like you could probably buy multiple position players for the same price as those quarterbacks, because that's just the way that the sports card market works. And is it right? I mean, it's what the market says. I know that there's a lot of people that sort of have the same sort of sentiment within cards and within football cards, but and I guess I don't necessarily know like what would have to change for there to be a change in the market for position players versus quarterbacks. Justin Jefferson, I think, is a player that has potential to change that. I mean, he's becoming sort of like the face of wide receivers when it comes to like players in the league right now. And I think like if you look at, I'm actually going to go to Card Ladder right now. Let's open up and just look. I mean, we can just compare players right now. Let's go to Card Ladder. Oops. Did I click on it? Yeah, I did. Hold on. Let me go back here. Share this tab. I just have to log in here. I hope this is the password. Actually, no, I don't think that's right. I think it's the other email. But I do think that's the password. Yeah, it is. Okay, so we're gonna go to Card Ladder. Let's see. Can we make this larger on the screen here? Let's take a look. How is that looking here? Oh, you know what? Actually, let's just do this. We'll make that full screen. We'll go to boom. Compare. Justin Jefferson, Prism, PSA 10. And then let's just, I mean, I guess we can go Joe Burrow. Like, I don't know exactly who to compare here, but we're just going to look at like, who's another, I mean, I guess we could look at Justin Fields too. Justin Fields, PSA 10, maybe a little bit different. Let's see. So yeah, I mean, comparing prices here, Justin Jefferson is essentially half the price as Joe Burrow. And that's over the past 3 months. I mean, I'm just going to keep it at 3 months. Cause like, I think if I'm going to go like a year and these charts will be like pretty wild. Yeah. I mean, actually not even terrible to be completely honest, like Joe Burrow being at 300, like sure. You lost 30% year over year, but like, I think even if you go to 2 years, it's probably a lot worse. Yeah. 65%. That's not great. But okay. So like, let's look at 3 months here. In the past 3 months, and yeah, you look at pricing and Joe Burrow, 219. I guess we could put Justin Herbert in here too, just because Justin Herbert. Nope, Herbert. Is that how you spell it? PSA 10. I mean, I guess this is a little bit closer here. Like Justin Herbert hasn't been like crazy. And then Justin Fields, obviously, just because he's kind of part of the news. Actually, let's add Tua because he's been in the news as well. Tua, Mosaic, now PSA 10. I think too, like I kind of had this conversation the other day when I was talking about John Morant, present PSA 10. Oh wow, so that's even pretty way down farther. Actually, I guess it doesn't really matter. I mean, I can leave them in here, but like Tua dropped 50%, but like he got picked up. So it's like I guess maybe I want to do 2 weeks. Tua, I don't know. That's weird. That's because he even dropped more, and now he's up because of this news, probably. But just over the past 2 weeks, like, but still, you look at like population report from that 2020 product, like people are still grading that card. People are still grading the quarterbacks at almost, I don't even know, I guess percentage, like 4 times more. They're grading 4 times more of the quarterbacks versus like a Justin Jefferson. Let's see. So 2020 draft. Let's see who else we can like look at from that draft here. 2020 NFL draft. Let's see. Chase Young, not a good example. I'm probably not going to use him. Let's look at Henry Ruggs. Yikes. Jerry Jeudy. That's not even going to be close. Jalen Reagor, not even going to be close. CeeDee Lamb, I guess that's maybe another player that we could use and just see where he's at. I bet you his is. Did I spell that wrong? No. Is there an extra E in there? Lamb? What am I spelling wrong here? Let's grab it from here. Maybe, is he not in card ladder? What am I doing wrong here? Oh, because I need to put him in here. Yeah, even at 40, like, I'm just going to take out Justin Fields so we can get the data here. I mean, even he's at less than half of what Justin Jefferson was compared to number of population. And I mean, price too, like $40 for a CeeDee Lamb Prism PSA 10. Like, I don't know if this is telling of the product or the player or the market. I think that these numbers I think that they make sense, to be honest, like compared to where they might have been like, a while ago. Like I said, like let's go back to 2 years ago. CeeDee Lamb, he peaked at $150. And now he's sitting around 40. So I just think overall, like the players, you're going to see that people just want quarterbacks more. But I also this is the thing that doesn't make sense to me in a way, because I look at these numbers and I think like, why wouldn't somebody spend $40 on a CeeDee Lamb if they like CeeDee Lamb? And I bet you Dak isn't even like crazy. Oop, I did it again. Let's look at Dak Prescott. 200. So like his price is very similar, and I think if you look at population, of that Dak card, 13, almost 1,400 compared to CeeDee Lamb, 600. I would say that there's definitely less Dak Prescott cards, even ungraded, than there are Joe Burrow. I mean, that 2020 Prism product was really where we saw like a pretty significant jump in the production of it. I think you look at market cap too. Like, I think all these numbers are interesting to look at. Market cap, 1.28 million which essentially is price versus how many there are. Dak 270K, CeeDee Lamb 28K. It's like, It's like, though, these are the numbers that I look at that don't make sense to me when I'm comparing quarterbacks and position players for football, which is why ultimately, like, I feel like there's going to be a shift at some point, but I don't know what it's going to take. I don't know when the shift is going to happen, why it's going to happen, because I thought it was going to happen over the past few years. And it may even be just the fact that, like, I think we have seen a shift in the market overall, which has maybe affected potentially what we could see from the pricing of these quarterback and position player cards. Like, the drops in significant price over the past couple of years. Maybe that's why we're not seeing the position players, because like people that are buying football cards, they on their mind, they don't even have position players aren't even something that they have on their mind of a card that they would want to buy, because like quarterbacks, if they were buying football, they were most likely buying quarterbacks, and they dropped in price so significantly, they don't even want to think to go and buy a different player. But I mean, I guess maybe even this is one of the players I was talking about, Lawrence Taylor. See, I definitely didn't spell this right. Lawrence Taylor, PSA 10. I mean, it is actually a little bit wild here, but there's also, where's that card? There's only 185. So also this card is probably a little bit out of, if you're buying football, I can't imagine you're buying this card most likely, just because, but still you look at the market cap is almost the same for Burrow and Lawrence Taylor. And the Lawrence Taylor card right now is almost 6K. I mean, so I wonder where that was it's 7. So it's still dropped about 25%. But I mean, it's not like the 85, 65, 67, 82, 75. I just think that, like, similar to prospects and rookies, like nowadays, I feel like you should just be flipping rookies and not like investing in them, if that makes sense. Like, I think you probably have to get to a point, if you're buying rookies, you should just be buying and selling them. You shouldn't be holding them, because like the value of holding them, unfortunately, just isn't any, because like we've seen over the past few years, the significant drop in these cards. I think also, even like a Brady or like an Aaron Rodgers or even a superstar quarterback has seen a pretty significant drop in their price over the past few years. I think there's just a readjusting of the market, and I think for the most part, we're up above the like COVID 2020 increase from like 2018, 2019. But obviously from that boom, we're down pretty significantly, which, there are, I don't know what the reasons are necessarily. Like, I don't know. And I don't think there's necessarily one reason. I think it's probably a lot. Like, I think when they hit those peaks, I think a lot of people probably sold, which when you get more sales, that drops the price. I think also, people aren't buying as much as they were maybe back then, or maybe people got into the market and they sold and they didn't really get back in with the money that they sold. Like, maybe they were buying and selling, but they were buying and selling, but the money that they were making, they didn't put back into cards potentially. That could be one of the reasons why. But either way, I mean, I think the quarterback market in general is one that you should be looking at for flipping, and it's one that you should be keeping an eye on if you're trying to watch data and figure out, like, if you're new to football cards, it's one that you should keep an eye out for. But like over the next few years, like, I don't know if we're going to see a shift, or if we don't see a shift. Like I said, I thought we were going to see a shift over the past few years, but maybe there was a market correction. So like the shift couldn't happen because people just weren't buying. I don't know. I don't know there, like from that perspective. I'm not 100% sure like where where those expensive cards went compared to, and actually, to be honest, it could be that, like, it could be just the market itself. Like, it could be a similar thing that happened with like the Topps 2020 project, where the market went up significantly, which led to more people buying the Topps 2020 project. But what that led to was that the print run for Topps 2020 project obviously was determined by how many people were buying. The print runs for Prism were done by Panini, but it's like there was already going to be an increase in that print run regardless. So like people bought into Prism thinking it was going to be what Prism was in 2017, 2018, but it turned out that like the 2019, 2020, 2021 Prism wasn't as valuable because the market had shifted away from, or people were buying it because they were expecting it to be what the market was. It was much more reactionary than maybe people thought it was going to be. So that I think that could be the reason why there was such a shift there.